So this is your Delonghi Specialista. You might be having a few problems with your grinder. I'm going to go over a few things and hopefully we can solve your issue. Okay, so to fix the problem that you can't hear your adjustment ring clicking, or what happens is you try and grind coffee and a lot of very coarse bean comes out and it's not going to make a very good espresso. That's the result of this not being connected to the grinder. So we're going to fix that. We're going to start at the top, and one thing I want to talk about is your hopper. So you have your lock position and your unlock position. You want to make sure it's in the lock position when you're ready to grind coffee. But for our purposes, we have it empty, but we're going to take it to the unlock position and we're going to pull the hopper out. So I just want to talk about the hopper. Right here you have a little infrared eye that senses if there's beans in the hopper. You will get a message that comes up. If that's the case, put more beans in. These rails right here, they actually do ride on a little micro switch. So if by chance you have an error with your hopper and you know you have beans in it, the error is still happening, pull your hopper out and check these tabs. If a tab is broken, you're going to need to replace your hopper. The hopper is for sale and they're fairly inexpensive. So with your Burr, it does need to be cleaned without exception, but once a week. You'll have to pull that out. Your best bet is to always vacuum out your cavity here. It'll get it nice and clean. Give your Burr a nice wipe without water, no water in the cavity, no water on your Burr, please. You can wreck that part of the grinder. So to remove the Burr, you have your coarseness at 2 here, but we need to turn your ring all the way to remove. This actually releases your Burr and you can actually pull this guy straight up. So what happens is when you're turning your ring, you're actually screwing the ring onto these feet of the Burr and actually pulling it down. So when you go finer, you're pulling it down. When you go coarser, you're letting it up. And that's what gives you the difference in your beans. So with your Burr, when you're setting your Burr back in, you want to always make sure it's on the remove. You're going to put your Burr in with a nice clean cavity, vacuumed out, and then you'll be locking that Burr in as you screw it to your coarseness. But for our purposes, we got one more step to check. We have another issue that can happen. I'm just going to pull that Burr out. The other issue is your ring. It does connect to your grinder, and every so often, once in a while, maybe not your machine, but somebody's machine, the ring will actually detach from the grinder adjustment. So a good way to tell that is if you can hear the clicking, it's attached. If you can't hear it, then we actually need to do a little bit of surgery to the machine. It is easy, and we're gonna try that in just a second. Okay, so to fix the problem that you can't hear your adjustment ring clicking, or what happens is you try and grind coffee and a lot of very coarse bean comes out and it's not going to make a very good espresso. That's the result of this not being connected to the grinder. So we're going to fix that. It is fairly easy. I'm going to turn the machine around. I'm going to unplug it. So we're actually going to go inside the machine. We're going to take the water tank off. And I'm going to extract these 2 screws. With the 2 screws out, this whole plate is removable. There are wires connected to the adjustment ring, so you just got to be careful. But I'm just going to take my fingers, and I'm just going to pry up, and these are just held in by clips, so they will come. They're a little bit stiff. There we go. There's no other tools needed. I wouldn't take a screwdriver and pry it up. I would just do it with my hands if possible. And this is what we want to expose. Okay. Always unplug the machine before you get into this part. It's pretty in-depth machine, so any further I would definitely suggest that you get a technician, Delonghi technician, to service your machine. But we're gonna move forward. So with your grinder here and your ring attachment here, we need to mate them up. So what happens is this post here actually goes into the Burr adjustment ring, and that's what gives it the clicking sound. If it's not attached, this is what you hear. Absolutely nothing. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the facing position. I want to take my ring burr, or my ring adjustment, into the remove position, and just line it up with the arrow. I'm going to take my grinder and I'm going to turn it the same way all the way, which is actually coarse, the coarsest it can go. This is what releases the burr. I'm going to push this 2 clicks, and with this all the way and that push back 2 clicks from turning it all the way counterclockwise, this should line up fairly straightforward. I'm just going to kind of set it on there, and before I put this back together, I'm just going to test it. And as you see, I got it on right. So to put it back on, I'm just going to tap the corners and the top's back on. And as you can see, the ring burr is back to running with rear clips. So you're all set. You can actually put your screws back in. Just finger snug, please don't over tighten them. You'll break the little tabs. There we go. Tank can go back on the machine. There we are. We're going to turn the machine back around. As you see, we're in the move position, which is where we want it. We have our upper burr. We're just going to set that in there. Of course, have a clean cavity, vacuum it out, give that burr just a little push down, and then we are going to turn the ring, which is going to lock that burr in. I would say take it back to about 3. You can make your fine adjustments later, and you can always check to see if that burr locked into place. Sometimes it's a little hard to pick out by giving the handle a little tug up, and if you can't pull it out, it's locked into place. Here we go, and we will set our hopper in position and lock it in place, and you're all set. Now at this point, you want to plug the machine back in, put some beans in it, and give it a whirl. Just to note, don't make an adjustment if there's beans in there. Start the machine and then make the adjustment. It'll make your grinder last a lot longer. I hope that fixes your issue. Thanks for watching.